Hey y'all, welcome back to the Skookum Report. I think you're going to like tonight's Bigfoot Encounter story. It might just end up being one of my all-time favorite encounter stories because it has just a little bit of everything in it. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. It's from a gentleman in Alabama who wants to remain anonymous, and he explains why. And I think that's about it. Let me just jump right into it. I have been reluctant to share my story because of my line of work, and I do not want to have people think I'm crazy, as this could damage my career. Definitely, no doubt. As I get older, though, I feel like this incident needs to be documented, and probably should be. Now, this incident occurred in the winter of 1980. It was in January, and it was a few miles east of Clayton, Alabama, in Barber County. I was traveling with my aunt, my grandmother, and my 4 younger cousins. We were going to a relative's house. It was dark, excuse me, and probably around 9 p.m. for the best I can remember. And for some reason, my aunt needed to turn around, and she proceeded to pull off of the roadway by a small clearing. And I was in the front seat of the car with my aunt, who was driving, and my grandmother. And then my 4 younger cousins were sitting in the back seat. As we turned off the road, the headlights caught this figure in mid-stride off to the side of the road. It immediately froze, like in mid-stride, and didn't move an inch. It was about 30 yards or so from the car. It was very close. I could see the entire side view of this creature, and its body was slightly turned so that it was looking at us. The most terrifying thing in my memory is the huge eyes glaring at us. The best way I can describe the creature's expression is just stunned, like a deer in the headlights, basically. The face was covered in hair except for around the eyes. The hair was dark and appeared longer and wavier in the arms and legs. And it was very tall, easily over 7 feet tall, if not more. When it froze in the headlights, one arm was slightly extended behind the creature, as in like mid-stride, and it just held that position. At this point, my grandmother was crying and begging my aunt to drive away. 2 of my younger cousins, they were huddled on the floorboard in the back seat crying. I was terrified, but couldn't look away. And my aunt kept telling my grandmother, "There's no way he can get in this car," and she kept the car still and watched this motionless creature for about 2 to 3 minutes. Wow, can you imagine that? It was almost completely motionless. It was as if the creature thought we could not see him if it didn't move. Now, I don't know how it stood so still. It was just extremely still. The hair, like a mannequin. The hair on my neck was standing on end, and it's doing so as I type this. It scared me so terribly. He kept staring at us with his eyes stretched very wide. I'll never forget that look he gave us. Finally, my aunt decided to flash the lights on and off real quick, and the instant she did this, the creature jumped towards the woods and was gone. He was probably about 10 yards from the woods, but made it there in less than a second. I can't believe how fast and how huge this creature, how fast this huge creature could move. This event traumatized me. I've never been able to go into the woods alone or enjoy camping since this event. I tried to deer hunt, but I couldn't enjoy it, so I quit. I can't sit alone in a tree stand without thinking of this creature, and I become tense all over. I can't imagine coming up upon this thing alone in the wilderness. I know these creatures exist. There is no doubt in my mind. I saw one up close and personal. And we never saw the creature again after it took off into the woods. Now, sometime later, my grandmother did tell us, she said that her and my late grandfather saw a creature near their home in the early 1950s. Now, their home that she's talking about was located only about 4 miles from this sighting that I was just telling you about. She and my grandfather went out on the front porch late one night, and they saw this creature standing at the edge of the woods near the house, and they could only see it from about its chest up. They could see how big its arms were in the shadows. It says the arms and the chest and the head. She says it was tall and hairy. My grandfather yelled at the creature, and it ran back into the woods towards a stream and made a great deal of noise in doing so, as it was crashing through the trees and the brush. She said they did find some strange three-toed footprints the next day, but they never had another encounter with the creature after this incident until the 1980 report. Three-toed tracks. How about that? I've heard that could be caused from inbreeding in small groups of them. I'm not sure. Just leave a comment if you have any idea about that, or if you've heard anything. It's funny how tracks can vary from all over different regions and different places. And I just heard, I can't remember exactly where, it was just some documentary that somebody's theory was that because of inbreeding in small groups, that they had deformities or misshapen feet and toes and whatnot. Now, he goes to say, in hindsight, this area was thick pine woods at the time. This was back in 1980. It was close to Martin's Pond, and this was a very rural area in 1980, and it still is heavily wooded. There's also a little-known lake in the vicinity called Indian Lake in the woods not very far from this area, about less than a mile. It's mostly forest, interspersed with cultivated fields that attract deer herds. There are multiple unexposed water sources nearby. There you go. Herds of deer and unexposed water sources. That's what you want. And there's also a power line route connecting various fields that would be used by deer. That's something else that I've heard. They follow power lines. I've heard that they follow train tracks and use them as a method of travel. Landlines, if you will. Ley lines. That's just so interesting. Sightings and encounters near Martin's Pond could be expected, even today, because it's an unexposed water source close to the power line route through heavily forested area that is dotted with grazing fields. Transient deer will move along that power line route and provide reliable ambush opportunities for a predator, especially in the late summer and early fall. Wow, that story has a little bit of everything. The thing that, one of the first things that got me was this thing froze in mid-stride. They pulled off to the side of the road to make a U-ey, and the lights caught it, and it just stopped in mid-stride and didn't move for 2 or 3 minutes. So I guess as they pulled off, it was expecting them, I guess, to drive on by. But as they pulled off real quick to make it turn around, them lights hit it. He wasn't expecting that. And like he said, you know, it was as if he thought, well, if I don't move, maybe they won't see me. I've heard that a lot before too. It's so interesting. So many different theories and ideas that make a lot of sense. The three-toed tracks, that's really interesting. And this place in Alabama, I think he said near Clayton, Alabama, is still heavily forested with unexposed water space and grazing fields, and I bet that would be a great place to go squatching. I would really, really like to have this place, to go visit this place and just spend like a week doing nothing but camping out and squatching. But I had a friend tell me today online, be careful what you wish for, because I mentioned something like to the effect of, I would like to see one, but, you know, from the safety of a car or something like that. And she said, be careful what you wish for. And yeah, you know, she's right. I don't know if I could handle that. And how would it affect my psyche afterwards? A lot of people who see these things, they say they feel as if everything they ever knew or believed fell down around them, and they had to, figure out a new way of thinking. It's really pretty heavy if you think about it, and it's very interesting. I want to thank y'all for coming and visiting with me tonight on the Skookum Report. Like I said, I think you just heard one of my new all-time favorite Bigfoot encounter stories. And if there's anyone you know or that has had a sighting or an encounter, or if you yourself have had one, shoot me an email at skookumreport@gmail.com. That's skookumreport@gmail.com. And I'll get it up on the channel for you. And that way everybody can enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the channel. If you have any ideas, we'll just comment back and forth. We'll shoot the stuff, if you will. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for coming again, and I appreciate you. And I'll see you next time on the Skookum Report.